Reading oil and gas books is actually very easy, and in this video I'm going to share with you 5 simple ideas that you can use to make reading of the oil and gas books enjoyable. And this is especially true if you are interested in learning or understanding how the oil and gas industry works, how to get into the oil and gas sector, or how oil and gas makes money, or how you can be able to make money in the oil and gas industry. Reading oil and gas books can be very challenging, and sometimes it can actually be very intimidating. And this is because when you think of oil and gas, you may picture or imagine complex diagrams, technical jargon, or even how thick some of the oil and gas books can be. However, there are ways on how you can actually make reading oil and gas books actually easy. And this is what we are going to discuss in this particular video, where I'm going to share with you 5 strategies that you can use to make reading oil and gas books an enjoyable experience. Whether you are a beginner, a professional, or a business person who is interested in getting into the oil and gas business, or you're just a curious person who is interested in learning how the oil and gas industry works, reading oil and gas books is the first thing you should do, and this video is for you. The first idea that would make reading oil and gas books actually very easy is for you to actually focus with starting with beginner-friendly oil and gas books. And what this means is that you are going to look for books that actually explain oil and gas concepts or oil and gas issues in plain English and that are focused on beginners. You want to focus on the oil and gas books that actually focus on helping a beginner to get into the oil and gas sector. You want to be able to learn the basics of the oil and gas industry, how the oil and gas industry works, and how the oil and gas value chain is segmented. And while I'm not proposing that you actually ignore the heavily technical oil and gas books, it would be advisable for you to make reading of oil and gas books a little bit easier on yourself. And you can do this by looking at beginner-friendly oil and gas books. And there are quite a number of beginner-friendly oil and gas books that you can be able to buy and read. And in fact, you can even read them online through such platforms as Audible. And the good thing is that many authors today write with a beginner in mind, meaning that they kind of dumb down the content to a level where you can be able to understand in an easy way. That means that many authors of oil and gas books are writing those books with a beginner in mind, where they want to help just an ordinary person to understand the oil and gas value chain. And those books actually provide a solid foundation when you are interested in getting into the oil and gas industry, or even if you are just curious about the entire oil and gas industry. The overall idea of reading beginner-friendly oil and gas books is actually very simple, because what you want to do here is that you want to start in a simple way. You want to be able to build confidence and also build curiosity in a natural way. And you want to start small and then progress as you get deeper into the oil and gas industry, and as you get to understand various oil and gas principles and concepts. The second idea, or the second thing that you need to have, or that makes reading oil and gas books actually easy, is being able to use real-world context to relate to the oil and gas industry. And this is because oil and gas industry touches or affects all aspects of your life. There are a lot of things in your daily life that actually come from oil and gas industry, or that actually are derivatives of the oil and gas industry. And here I'm talking of things like plastics, the transport that you use, electricity, toothpaste, some of the clothes that you are wearing, and quite a lot of other things that you use on a day-to-day basis come from oil and gas industry. So if you are going to be reading oil and gas books, you can make it a little bit easier on yourself by relating what you are reading to real-world issues or to real-world items. meaning that when you are fueling your car, when you are actually using gas in your house or electricity, or when you are using the toothpaste, you can't be able to see oil and gas in all those things. What this means is that when you are reading oil and gas books, you can't be able to connect what you are learning with real life situations or things that are there in your life as of today. For example, when you think of crude oil refining, you can actually think of the fuel that you're going to put in your car, or when you go to a gas station and you fuel your car, or when you're reading about LNG or liquefied natural gas, you can relate it to the gas that you use at home or gas that is used in industries. And this idea of relating what you are learning or reading with what happens in the real world makes reading oil and gas books actually very easy. It becomes relatable and it becomes an enjoyable experience because you can see it in action. The third strategy, or the other idea that makes reading oil and gas books actually easy, is when you can be able to break oil and gas chapters into small readable bits. And this is because most oil and gas books are divided into relatively larger chapters such as upstream, midstream, downstream, geology, drilling, or petroleum economics, among others. What this means is that you cannot be able to read the entire book in one go. You cannot be able to read the entire chapter in one go. So it is better for you if you can be able to break it into smaller bits, meaning that you look at a chapter and probably divide it into smaller readable bits over a period of time. You can say that maybe for the next several weeks, you are going to only focus on understanding the chapter related, let's say, to upstream. Maybe in another month or another week, you can focus on another topic or another chapter. Using this approach makes reading oil and gas books relatively easy. You actually enjoy the process and also you reduce overwhelm. You do not become overwhelmed by reading an entire oil and gas books at once. And this is because the amount of information that you're going to be reading or the amount of data that you're going to be getting is quite a lot, and you might not be able to take it all in one go. So when you break it down into readable bits, smaller bits, it means you can actually even be able to allocate enough time to just be reading something related to oil and gas each and every day. For example, you can actually just allocate yourself either 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or an hour per day to focus on reading or improving your knowledge about oil and gas. And there is something very interesting that happens when you actually approach reading oil and gas books in this manner. This is because you are going to actually gain oil and gas knowledge in a gradual manner, helping your brain to be able to process and understand these oil and gas concepts. So do not be overambitious when reading your oil and gas books. Find the chapters and break them down into small readable bits, and then create a plan of how you are going to read the entire chapter over a certain period of time. The fourth idea or strategy that ensures that reading oil and gas books is easy actually is where you consider watching videos alongside the oil and gas books that you are currently reading. And this is where you actually pair the oil and gas written content that you are reading with the video or visual content. And one of the platforms that you can actually leverage when it comes to this is YouTube. This is because there are quite a number of oil and gas books that have been uploaded on YouTube where you can be able to watch videos of what it is that the book is talking about. There are also very many videos on YouTube that actually help to explain how the oil and gas industry works, or how the various aspects or segments of the oil and gas industry works. You can, for example, watch videos related to how oil and gas is formed, or how oil and gas companies make money, or how oil and gas companies drill or extract oil and gas resources from deep oceans or water bodies, meaning you are going to understand the offshore oil and gas subsector. So what this means is that when you take time, for example, to watch a video on how oil and gas is extracted, while you are reading a book also about how oil and gas resources are extracted from the ground, this is going to actually reinforce what you are reading and will improve your understanding of that particular process or material that you are reading. So the key takeaway from this particular point is that reading oil and gas books can actually be very easy if you approach it from a multimedia point of view. Read the book that you have at the moment, but also look for other ways to be able to actually get the same information, and that includes watching videos or probably even listening to podcasts about the book or the topic that you are reading at the moment. The fifth strategy or idea, and a very powerful approach that makes reading oil and gas books actually very easy, is when you can be able to join a community, join a discussion group, or actually become a member of an oil and gas book club. This is because being part of a community that focuses on reading oil and gas books makes it interesting, enjoyable, and you can be able to exchange ideas with other people who are reading probably the same book that you are reading, or other books that you can later exchange ideas on or about. Human beings are naturally very social animals, and this means that when you join an oil and gas books community, or a community that actually focuses on reading oil and gas books, you're actually going to find it a little bit easier and more exciting because you can be able to share the journey with other people. They might also actually become a group that motivates you to continue reading and also sort of have accountability, because when you are reading books with other people, then you don't want to be the one who actually is left behind. So even if you probably are not even enjoying the current book that you are reading, you will be forced to actually take action and focus on reading that particular oil and gas book. And a very important aspect of being in this kind of communities is when you consider things such as oil and gas book clubs can actually be very powerful. And this is because they actually bring together people who are already interested in reading books, and in particular, people who are interested in reading oil and gas books. So as one of the ways that makes reading oil and gas books easier is when you are able to be in a group with other people who are focused and who are interested in the same things that you're interested in. Another benefit of joining these kind of groups or being a member of such an oil and gas books club is that it also provides you with an opportunity to be able to network with other people in the oil and gas industry, which can actually be a great advantage when it comes to advancing your professional career, or even when it comes to improving your opportunities to do business in the oil and gas industry. So take some time, find out the oil and gas books clubs that are within your locality. And if you do not find any, you can equally look for them on the internet. This is because there are quite a number of online forums that you can be able to join and still be able to get the same benefits that you would get if you had a physical oil and gas books club. Reading oil and gas books is actually easy when it is shared. And this is because when you actually share what you are learning with other people, it actually improves your understanding. As they say, if you actually learn something, you are going to become very good at it if you can be able to teach other people. And that is what would happen if you are in a community, or if you are to join an oil and gas books club where you teach what you are learning from whatever oil and gas book that you are reading at the moment. Reading oil and gas books is easy actually, and with a few smart strategies, you can enjoy the process or the experience of reading oil and gas books. And if you have enjoyed this particular video, watch the video on your screen right now. Subscribe to this YouTube channel if you have not, and I'm going to see you in my future videos.